Space. The first way of creating the illusion of space that we'll look at here is line weight. Heavier lines appear to come forward, lighter lines appear to recede. So by heavier we mean darker and thicker lines, like those that you see at the very bottom of this drawing by Vincent van Gogh, the lines that would be near your own feet if you were standing here. By lighter lines, we mean the type that you see around the sun. You'll notice if you look closely that the lines get very gradually. They go from heavier to lighter as we move back in space visually here. Here's another example of that same technique by Jean-Francois Millet, a contemporary of Vincent van Gogh. Horizon line. As soon as you draw a horizontal line from one side of a paper to the other side, the mind perceives earth above, or earth below and sky above, even when the image is quite abstract like this one. If you place that horizon line low within your composition, within the rectangle, it will make the viewer feel as if they have a bird's eye view, like they're flying up above the scene. And if you place that horizon line low, it can give the viewer the feeling of having what's usually known as a worm's eye view, but what we might call in Michigan a swimmer's eye view, where your head is very close to the horizon. Color intensity is another way of creating the illusion of space. Here, if you look closely at the bows on the girls' dresses, I think you can see what I mean. In the front on the bench, there are two girls sitting. The orange in their bows is quite a bright orange. If you look at the girls who are much farther away, they also have orange sashes on their dresses, but those oranges are just a little bit dull. They have a tiny bit of blue mixed into them. Color temperature is another way of creating the illusion of space. So here, most of the colors are cool. Just a couple are warm. The yellow and the red are warm colors, and so those seem like they're closer to us. Value contrast is another way of creating the illusion of space. Saving all of your very light and very dark values for the things that are nearest to the viewer, and then keeping things that are farther away only to mid values can create this illusion. So you see that here, where the trees are only mid values. And then the wolves have actual black and white in them. There's no black, there's no white in those trees. This is one example of atmospheric perspective. Several of these ways of creating the illusion of space have to do with the phenomenon of the air around us not actually being clear. Things that are farther away we can't see as well, actually because the air itself is blocking our view of some amount of detail, like perception of value. Another way of thinking of value contrast in this way is using it to create highlights and shadows, which we practiced previously. That's another way of creating the illusion of space. Shape size. The woman in the purple dress on the right here, who's walking her pet monkey, is about twice as tall as the woman in the red dress with the red umbrella and the little girl. This is one thing that makes that woman in the purple dress seem closer to us. Overlapping shapes. As soon as one shape seems to be in front of another shape, it suggests the illusion of space. So for instance, here you have this long purple spear-like shape that seems to be in front of that curved red semicircle. And so it seems to be on top of it, and so it seems like it's closer. And that's not just true with abstract shapes, that's also true with the shapes of these children compared to the shape of that lawn. Texture and detail. In the icebergs here, in the very bottom or front, we can see like every little ridge. You can almost imagine what it would feel like to rub your hand on there, and feel that icy, broken texture. That iceberg that's way in the back, up on the top left, you can't see that type of detail, and that helps add to the illusion of space here. Oh my gosh, I just saw the crashed ship in this painting for the first time. Do you guys see that? Then there's linear perspective. Linear perspective says that parallel lines appear closer to one another as they get closer to the horizon. As they go off into the distance, lines that we would know as parallel, like those in railroad tracks, seem like they meet up. So, as I said before, this was discovered and used heavily during the Italian Renaissance. Here's one of the earliest examples of linear perspective. You can see the lines on the ground coming together as they move away from the viewer. This can also be applied to indoor scenes. We won't have time in this class to really get into linear perspective, but it's something that you could definitely research on your own, practice, and learn about. If it interests you, it's a great tool to know how to use. Here's another example of linear perspective. And one more, a very famous one, in which the lines don't just create space, they also add to the meaning of the work of art. All of the lines direct you to the most important feature here. It's worth noting that the use of 1 and 2 point perspective, also known as geometric perspective, is a very European way of perceiving the world. In Eastern cultures, for a lot of history, space was really represented differently than this.